Hello, friends. I hope you all are doing very well in your respective lives. Today, I, Kunal Nagpal, would like to welcome you all once again to this great online forum, Nagpal Econotech Academy. My dear friends, it's actually an online economic session wherein we are trying to enhance our overall knowledge base. I'm trying my best to put forward my ideas pertaining to the core economic matters existing in the entire global economy and how India can actually sustain itself, stressing on the core policies, on the core decisions which are being taken by our respected pioneers, respected ministries in order to insulate India from these periods of crisis which have engulfed the entire global scenario. And obviously, this tough time, this sensitive time actually requires a very sensible approach. And that's what our leaders have been following, my dear friends, because of which the Indian economy is getting highlighted on the global platform. And it is actually becoming an attractive destination for the foreign investments. Isn't it really great? Moreover, our economy has been able to uplift itself in past decade. That is, it has been able to remodify its position from 10th largest economy to the 5th largest economy in the span of 10 years. So this is really great, and it speaks a lot about the great laurels of success being attained by our economy. And obviously, this requires a lot of courage, a lot of inner resilience to operate in such a tough time, and that too being a developing country. When we are observing various economies collapsing, undergoing a paralysis in their entire policy framework, this is really great that India is able to function so well that it is able to support and sustain itself through the effective implementation of the Atmanirbhar plan. And along with this, it is also able to sustain and lend a helping hand to its peer countries, be it the developed countries or be it the developing countries. Recently, we had seen the major banking crisis in the US economy, that is the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. Even though the US Federal Reserve has been taking immense steps to curb inflation and in order to avoid a recessionary situation, it has been raising the interest rates through the rate hikes. However, the continuous rate hikes at a very immensely high rate resulted in this particular crisis in the banking sector in the US economy. Even though that particular organization, that is the US Fed, has been trying to put its best with optimum utilization of resources. But my dear friends, this is really a very tough time which is going on. So it requires a very well calibrated and balanced approach. We need to be very, very cautious. Yes, we need to be very, very cautious. So, in today's session, we are basically going to talk on the core insights presented by our respected Finance Minister Smt Nirmala Sitharamanji. She has given her insights in a very, very expressive manner, that is how our overall well-balanced and calibrated approach in the aspect of implementing the structural reforms has been able to insulate our economy very well from such tough situations which have actually engulfing the entire globe. So, my dear friends, we really need to go through the core insights presented by her in a very attentive manner, as this will actually help us to realize that how far-sighted and broad-minded our leaders are, who are actually following a very consistent approach with great precision. So, my dear friends, India actually remains the globally attractive destination for investment due to the structural reforms, says the Finance Minister, Dr. Nirmala Sitharaman. India's structural reforms approach has actually ensured that it remains a globally attractive destination for investment, and the country is actually well positioned in the global economy, allowing it to grow briskly, possibly faster in the coming years. The Union Finance Minister, Dr. Nirmala Sitharaman, has said, India's journey from the 10th largest economy in dollar terms in 2014 to becoming the world's 5th largest economy has actually been one of the steady acceleration in growth amidst global and domestic challenges. She said this particular point on Monday during a fireside chat at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Dr. Sitharaman further said that India has actually integrated its economy with the global trade and financial flows while ensuring a higher standard of living and improved quality of life for the Indian households. The structural reforms approach has actually ensured that India remains the globally attractive destination for investment, supported by the rising domestic consumption of the middle class, robust infrastructure push by the government, sustainable fiscal health, and a vibrant class of domestic institutional investors, she said. So, in her prepared remarks on resilience of the Indian economy amidst tightening of the financial conditions, she said that India is actually well positioned in the entire global economy, actually allowing it to grow briskly, possibly faster in the coming years due to the conscious policy choices in the last 9 years. Noting that the policymakers had no fixed template to fall back on when dealing with the pandemic-induced economic setbacks, navigating the ongoing geopolitical crisis, and tightening financial conditions. Dr. Sitharaman said the last few years have been quite unique for India since the domestic financial institutions' balance sheet problems and the external shocks since 2020 actually required the structural reforms to build the foundational resilience in a holistic manner. So, decoupling from the standard economic policy prescriptions while developing a model unique to the Indian context has actually enabled India to stand out today and establish a firm path to recovery and economic growth altogether, she said. This is really the core highlight of our discussion, my dear friends, hence I would like to repeat it. Decoupling from the standard economic policy prescriptions while developing a model quite unique to the Indian context has actually enabled India to stand out today and hence establish a firm path to recovery and economic growth, she said. So, this actually helps us to realize the core trait of an effective leader. That is, to not actually follow the set rules in every situation. Rather, we should try to remodify, restructure, and re-engineer our overall criteria of dealing with the situations as per the nature of the persisting problem. That's the real trait of a leader to be quite dynamic and answer the call of time in a effective manner. And when the advanced economies across the globe enjoyed relatively accommodative monetary policy in the second decade of the millennium, the Indian economy actually underwent a period of tight financial conditions. During the pandemic, when the dominant policy advice was basically to provide open-ended monetary and fiscal stimulus, the Indian government basically chose a more cautious route, carefully managing the resources and responding to the situations on a priority basis, said the minister. This is another core highlight which really needs to be very, very well addressed by all of us, because this is really speaking a lot about the overall perseverance of our leaders. So this overall calibrated approach allowed us to take the best possible advantage of the opportunities presented by the pandemic to implement the structural reforms in the form of the self-reliance package, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat, under the visionary leadership of our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji, she said. My dear guys, we have often heard of a quote, "A stitch in time saves nine." This is really very, very well applied by our leaders in their practical lives, hence helping our economy to not only cross this particular tough, challenging situation, but also helping it to get converted into an opportunity. Various countries across the globe, our peer countries, are actually not able to sustain this tough time. They are going through policy paralysis. They are not able to function properly. They are not able to optimize their available resources, and they are forced or compelled to take help from the international institutions, from the international organizations. So, my dear friends, what can we learn from this particular scenario? We need to be very well prepared, and only a well strategic plan is able to help one to sustain oneself, and also helping other nations, helping other people in our surroundings at the best possible level. And that truly explains and demonstrates our effective application of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, my dear guys, along with this financial integration, we ensured financial inclusion by developing an affordable and advanced public digital infrastructure with basic formalization of the Indian economy and wider tax base being other benefits, she said. Moreover, India has actually prioritized macroeconomic stability while ensuring inclusive growth by expanding the size and scope of the budgeted expenditure. Simultaneously, it undertook wide-ranging structural reforms such as introducing the Goods and Services Tax, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, and corporate tax rationalization. Furthermore, she asserted India is actually quite better placed with muted spillover effects from stressed financial conditions in the West. That's what I told. That is the recent crisis of the Silicon Valley Bank collapse in the Western countries, that is in the US economy. that has not been able to affect the Indian economy to the great level. This is really great. Notwithstanding the intermittent corrections due to excessive volatility in the global financial markets, the INR stability is actually playing a massive role to boost our economy, to give a further boost to our economy. And the performance of the INR is actually quite stable relative to its counterparts. So despite the foreign portfolio outflows as the investors rushed to seek the safer assets, the Indian financial sector has not displayed the signs of volatility or stress due to an improved investment environment. This is another core strength of our economy, that is improved investment environment, which is actually led by declining non-performing asset levels, that is the NPA levels across the banking sector, and stronger balance sheets in the financial and non-financial private entities, Dr. Sitaraman said. So, my dear friends, we have been able to realize the core strengths of our economy, which are actually helping it to come forward with the excellent reforms, the structural reforms to further enhance and enable its overall progress towards becoming a bright spot in a gloomy global scenario. And the structural reforms in the financial sector are really playing a great role, as we have learned in this particular discussion. The recent fact being that our economy has not been impacted like other countries with the recent Silicon Valley Bank collapse. This is really great. This is really great. And as a result, after getting impressed by such a marvelous performance, our country is being approached by various foreign countries for the investment opportunities. That is, our country is actually becoming an attractive destination for the foreign investors. And that's what we have learned here. The core insights presented by our Finance Minister Smt. Nirmala Sitharaman in a very, very well explained and beautiful manner. So, my dear friends, I would like to conclude my session here itself, and I really hope you have been benefited immensely with this great, insightful session. So, take an excellent care of yourselves until we meet next. Thank you so much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.